Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Behind the Group podcast. I am DJ Keo.
And I am Basil Barrington, and we are back with another review. This time we did something very interesting. We reviewed,
Different.
I know, and different too, man. We reviewed We Met in Virtual Reality. This is this movie was shown at Sundance, and HBO picked it up, made it like an original documentary. Joe Hunting, who is the person who produced this, and he directed, written the whole joint. He basically created this early on in a lockdown, like in 2020, because he wanted to, basically meet up with his friends, right? So he was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to create a movie. So he basically created a movie, and he recorded everything he was doing in virtual reality and made this into a movie, documentary, whatever it was.
Yeah, because he shot it so he's watching everybody do their thing, but he shot it like a documentary, which was like the camera angles and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool about it. Because he had like B-roll and everything else. I'm like, this is really well done.
Yeah, this is
you did everything in virtual reality. So he had to set up his shot or the headset so he could look at like an apple on a desk or whatever to film the B-roll for it. And I'm like, this is excellent. It was fascinating for me.
It was completely fascinating. The first thing I wanted to find out was, one, when the credits was rolling, I watched the credits like until the end, because I wanted to know which virtual reality platform they were using. Right.
Yeah.
And come to find out, it was VR chat. It had nothing to do with Facebook, right?
Yeah.
In VR chat, you have the ability to create a full body avatar. Now, if you look at like little sort of clips of the metaverse that Facebook is creating, I mean, you have half your body,
Yeah, it's advanced Wii. You remember the Wii console from Nintendo where everyone played the tennis or whatever? It's just an advanced version of that.
Dude.
So it's still ghetto. It's an infancy still.
We bought that 1 year for my son, and the tennis was off the chain, right? And so I was in the basement. Dude, I broke that tennis racket so many times just trying to hit that ball hard, But what's interesting about this is, one, it shows you what this virtual reality is all about, and it didn't even go all in, right?
Remember, there's more communities. It could have got way darker or more interesting.
Remember, what Zuckerberg is trying to create is he's trying to create like some sort of a e-commerce. He's trying to create commerce within a virtual reality. That's why you have all these people like buying real estate and land and things like that in the virtual reality and in this metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg is talking about. And I'm like, what sort of people are doing this? Are you doing virtual reality or what?
No, I don't have a headset or anything like that. I'm not opposed. This is the thing. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I would say like I'm geeky enough I understood what was going on in this thing. Like, we're both programmers. We've done stuff with computers and this kind of thing. Like, this is our world too. Even though we're DJs and, we're cool, but we're, this is still our world. Like this is our thing. So, I'm saying like, we're nerdy too. And this is that kind of stuff that would interest me anyway. But like, I never really got into VR because I never thought the technology was there yet for like the masses. Yeah. I think that's what Facebook is trying to get to. They're trying to make this for the masses, but accessible to everybody. Like right now, with VR, you still need a pretty powerful computer to run this thing.
Yeah,
you can't do this on a MacBook Air or whatever. Like you need the beefy computer with the graphics card and everything to run it. And I think that's one of the biggest factors why people haven't gotten into it. And like, there's such a learning curve. Like, so everything in VR chat, like they created their own avatars. So it's not like, you like, what's the Fortnite, the video game Fortnite, where, you can just go to the store and buy the shirt and whatever, buy the hat or whatever. You can do that. You just buy like a virtual store, or you
walking around with a MAGA hat on.
Yeah, you have to actually go design this thing in VR chat. So like the barrier to entry is steep.
Yeah.
For you need a computer, the VR set. First, you got to be interested in it. then you got to design all this stuff. This is time and effort that people put into, and you can see it from the movie, the documentary. Like these people, like somebody designed a wedding dress for one of the characters in the
who
movie. I'm
had,
like,
they
yo,
had a virtual wedding, so it's just like,
yeah,
so
in a
you have these
virtual way,
people
like
having
it's just
relationships
crazy.
in virtual reality. I mean, like, you can't
Yeah,
kiss and you can't be crazy intimate in virtual reality, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
here's the thing though, right? Here's the other thing. This movie was
Mm.
as sad as it was intriguing.
It was depressing, man.
It was depressing, dude. This
It
is
was
so sad
depressing.
because, I mean, think about it, right? In the beginning, they
Mhm.
were basically saying, you know, in real life, you're this person, but obviously in virtual
Yeah, you can just
reality,
be
you can be
whatever.
anyone you want to, right? And
Yeah.
we were talking offline, and I'm just like, I don't get what's up with the tails. Is that sort of like a fetish thing or something? Why are these
I don't
avatars with tails?
there's anything online, there's all subgroups, and the subgroups turn into subgroups of that subgroup, and like there's a whole group of people that are into these type of things or different things. And like that's
Oh
part
my
of the culture.
goodness.
Like that's
Mhm.
part of just the culture of being online. Like, some stuff looks like furries. Like there's the whole thing that's out there. Like we're for us, I think that for just the average person that's not really into this kind of stuff, we're scratching the surface of what's going on in that VR world, of what people are doing in different chat groups or whatever. Like so, talking about the movie, they had like a chat group that's teaching sign language.
Yeah,
He had a
that was
chat
pretty
group
cool.
that was
Mhm.
yeah, and I find that storyline interesting. They had a chat group with like a strip tease dance
Like,
club thing.
yeah, like
It
belly
was
dancing, and
strippers.
they also had like pole dancing.
Yeah, yeah, pole dancing
Um,
servers or whatever. Like so, they had
right.
that thing going on. There's like private parties where people got together and
Mhm.
talk about what's going on in the community. Like, there's a lot of cool, interesting things that's going on. But I found it fascinating that it was happening, but I felt kind of sad because one of the persons was talking about like I think it was the girl that did the sign language thing, that how
Dust
when you meet
Bunny.
someone in person, yeah, when you meet somebody in person, it's going to be a different version of them versus how you would have met them online. So when you're online, you can really get to know the person, whereas
How?
you know well, because you're like, you don't get the well, this person's pretty, right? This person's handsome, or this person's got money. You don't really get that. You just
Right,
get
but
the avatar,
mhm.
and they got
In
to
the
talk to you, or
story,
you have the same. Yeah,
right.
but you're basically meeting because you have the same interests, and that's it. That's all you
Mhm.
get. And the avatar can be crazy, whatever. That's fascinating, but like you're just meeting on the interests, and it's kind of the problem that people have in real life is that they would never be in the same room together to meet based on the interests.
Yeah.
So two people that probably would have liked each other in real life are never going to talk to each other in a billion years because this person's got fuzzy hair, they got a terrible haircut, or they have no fashion sense, or they don't have any money, or they don't have a car, or whatever. Like all these other external things, and I agree. I was nodding my head. I was agreeing with her on that point. Like there's when you're meeting the VR, like this is all you get, and you kind of get to know the person more so because of that. Because you can get a bond more about your interests, and then you meet them in person. You're like, okay, all right, you look kind of weird, but all right, I still like you as a person
Yeah.
because we did this already. Like I totally get that, and so I think that a lot of the people in the VR are mostly social outcasts, and they got some kind of issues that make them they're not good socially talking to people in person or whatever. And so they kind of have to hide behind the computer,
Yeah.
which to me was sad. Like, we're
Totally
both
sad.
DJs. I'm a techie person. I like this stuff, but I'm still outgoing and I still can talk to people in person.
Yeah.
I've had a girlfriend in real life. I'm saying like
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that it's just like I felt like kind of sad about the future because this issue is only going to get worse where people can't talk to each other, can only talk to you online or whatever like that being able to talk to you in person is that's only going to get worse right now. And
Man.
the outcasts are going to become more underground, if you will, thinking about like where this is going for society. Like, this is bad. I don't know. I it's interesting but depressing for me. When I was
Totally
watching.
depressing. You know, in this movie, all of the characters. First of all, the characters they're playing themselves. They're playing their avatars, right? So that's a first, right? That's a first.
Yeah.
And it also opens the door to people who may be thinking about, you know, making other movies and documentaries based on virtual reality. Now, in the beginning, all of the characters had an issue. They were either depressed or they had something to do with, like, you know, they couldn't speak well in public, or they all had a problem, right? So, and then, you know, they were also saying, well, they went to work, they had regular jobs, and then they would come home, and then
And their
just
real life starts online.
right, their real life starts online, right? Now, what's interesting to me is, I mean, this is not new. I mean, like what was it? Second
Yeah,
Life
this
was
Second Life.
exactly
Yeah,
the
that was a long
same.
time ago.
Right. Now,
And
I
even
don't,
World of
mhm,
Warcraft was kind of they had a
yeah,
meeting place in World
right.
of Warcraft too.
Now, I
Yeah.
don't understand why. I think Microsoft or IBM bought Second Life. So someone already had the blueprint, either
Yeah,
Microsoft
yeah.
or
This
IBM,
is
because I
this has
know,
been
like,
going on for a long time.
right, because I know IBM was using using Second Life heavily, you know, just to do like office meetings. You have offices in Brazil and people meeting, you know, with your people in Brazil and the US. That wasn't
Yeah,
done
yeah.
through Zoom. That was done through like Second Life, you know, and I was just like, oh wow, this is really interesting. But also in America, a lot of like companies were like, you know, shutting that IP down because people were going on and doing weird stuff on Second Life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
no,
other
they kind
right.
of
And the other thing is this, you know, it seems like the virtual reality thing is like for the younger millennials and the Gen Zers, because these people grew up online. That is all they know. They meet
Yeah.
friends online. They don't meet friends at the mall. They meet friends
Yeah.
online. And they do it through like
Yeah.
consoles like PlayStation, you know, Xbox, all that sort of stuff, right? So the way society is like sort of moving in this like 10 to $20 billion bet that Mark Zuckerberg has on the metaverse, I mean, it's just like, really. And the other sad thing about it is this 10 or $20 billion bet that Mark Zuckerberg has on the metaverse, dude, it has nothing to do with connecting people and friends and things like that.
You're a product buying
You are
stuff.
a product. You are the product. And I mean, look at all of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
hedge funds and these big companies that are buying like real estate in the metaverse, billboards, this, that, and the other. You have like fashion companies, Pepsi, you know, like, hey, you know, we want to do, it's all about advertising. It's all about data. You come into the metaverse, you come into Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, your data is done. Done.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember that headset that Microsoft made that's supposed to be augmented reality? It was like
Um,
I cannot remember the name of it right now. It was like it wasn't like Halo or something. I can't remember. I cannot remember the name. But they had
okay.
like a VR. It was a VR headset you put over your head, and
Mhm.
instead of like, because like VR is basically you're looking at two screens,
Right.
but like they're beaming the information onto a lens, and the lens, so you could interact with real life, but also have the virtuality slapped on top of it.
Wow.
And I thought at the time, before Microsoft decided to crap the bed with all their stuff they've been doing, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, well, this seems more closer to the future, because they were trying to use the headset for people as like a doctor would be like, you do the
Yeah.
overlay and be like, okay, your artery's over here, this
Mhm.
thing is behind it while you're doing surgery or whatever, and that makes sense. And they're using the VR headset for, it's like it's not VR, it's augmented reality, and it was
Yeah.
for construction and a bunch of other things they're trying to use this headset for. And I was like, okay, cool. The VR thing is such a, because when you put it on and you're working on it, and you take it off, like it's like
You're discombobulated a little bit. You're like,
yeah, yeah, it throws you off.
yeah.
And so people living in that thing versus being reality in the regular world, it's a different I don't even know where I'm going with this, but like, it felt like it's a completely different universe to be forced into this thing. Like you're basically plugging into the Matrix at this point, and
Basically,
that's
it.
kind of I think that's kind of where I was trying to make the point is that it feels like we're getting into the pod and we're gonna get an IV and then put a headset on
That's
and
it.
we're just gonna consume product or whatever.
Yeah,
Like I that's the part that made me saddest the most about this is that this technology is cool, but I don't want to get in the pod.
yeah,
Like if I could just play a video game, like play Madden, whatever in a VR set, I'm like, okay, cool. Or Halo or something like that. I'm like, all right, cool. But I don't want to only meet my future spouse that I can't touch in person in the pod. Like I don't want to do that. And it seems like we're going into this dark, like 1984 Brave New World type world, and I don't want to go there. I don't know. Like maybe I'm the old head, and I'm just like old fashioned or whatever. Like I like being in person. Like that's one of the things that bothered me the most about lockdowns and the pandemic, because like people did not adjust well to not being
no,
able to touch people
you
and
know,
see them in person and interact with. They did not. It was bad, and
yeah,
I would only imagine that this kind of thing would be worse. But like there's a whole generation that's going to be used to it. So I don't know.
yeah. I
For
mean,
us old
yeah,
heads, this is not for
no,
us
no, no,
at
no.
all.
No. I mean, listen, like I said, this is like Gen Zers and like younger millennials, and
Mm,
that's pretty much it. Now, before the pandemic, before lockdown, I used to go to an
mm,
AR VR conference in Santa Clara every
mm.
year. And the thing that was really interesting about that conference is how these other companies were concentrating on AR, not VR. They kind of look
Yeah.
down on VR because VR is like you're in this sort of, you're confined, right? What these
Well, it's like
companies,
3D
what these,
theaters. Like it's not a
yeah,
thing that people want to get into because of
right.
work.
What these people were looking at in terms of AR are like, okay, let's say you go to Warby Parker, you're using
Mm,
AR to try on
mm,
glasses, right?
mhm.
You go to Amazon, you're using AR to place a sofa in your living room to see how it would look,
Fits.
right?
Yeah, it fits. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And the other thing they were talking about that's going to be huge with AR is like um, just like for doctors and also like military people, like maybe
Mhm,
you're leaving a job, right? And then you
mhm,
put all of you put everything, your documentation within this AR like app. The next person
mhm.
that comes up, now they can learn exactly what they're supposed to do via AR,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
But I
engineers,
think
things like that.
the augmented reality makes more sense than a
It makes more
complete
sense. Yeah.
submersive type thing.
It's bigger.
But
AR is bigger.
yes,
It's bigger.
yes.
It's more money. It's like corporations. I mean, I don't even know how significant VR will be. Why VR? Like, why do we need VR? Why do we
Yeah.
need to? Why do we need to expose like what people have been going through for years, just being socially
Mm.
awkward, living in
Yeah,
a basement somewhere,
it's not
just like,
good.
but why do we need that? Why do we need to exploit people? Because that's what VR is. VR is exploitation. You're taking these people, you're saying,
Yeah.
hey, you want to buy this, you need an NFT or, you need Sheeb or Doge or something like that. So now you have this entire ecosystem and it has nothing to do with people because we're the product. The only way they can make money is to bring the product to the
Yeah.
metaverse.
Well, that's why I think the VR chat is successful and is right because you're not a product. You're just going to meet at a place and doing
Right.
your own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the metaverse is you are a product. We want to get you sheep in line and
Yeah.
strapped to the machines,
That's
like
it.
that kind of thing. And
That's it.
I'm steadfast against that. But
Totally.
VR is cool if it's doing the chat thing. I thought that was interesting in that regard. But I think AR probably makes the most sense. Like the movie Minority Report, they
Yeah.
had like advertisements that popped up that
Yep.
specific to you, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's closer to reality right now than VR is because even when I was watching the documentary, I'm like the graphics look amazing, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right. Like there's glitches and stuff like video games where somebody will respawn halfway in a door or that kind of thing like that. That takes me out of my immersion. And some people are cool with it, and it's fine for what it is. Especially because this is all man. Everybody doing this stuff, they've created their own mods, whatever, kind of like a GTA 4 mods or 5, whatever. Like that, it's kind of you're making your own mods to this thing
Yeah.
based on this technology that's available to you. Because large companies aren't investing billions of dollars to make the
No.
virtual chat better.
No.
This is just what the people, the community is doing on their own. And so that's where it looks the way it does.
Yeah.
Now, if they did spend more money on it, they would try and manipulate it so they can make you product. And
Yeah.
I
Make
can't
it
get on board
addictive
with
so you
that.
can stay in. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah, I
it's
can't
almost
get
like
on board with
TikTok.
that.
It's like TikTok is addictive. And I've
Yeah.
never used TikTok before. I've never downloaded the app, but just what people have been saying, it's
I mean, it's
addictive.
spyware. Like
Yeah.
this is
It's just
spyware.
like, hey, all you're doing is thumbing through, and you have no control. You can't say I like this. You're just thumbing through. So I don't. I think big corporations are more intrigued with AR than VR because
That may
AR. I
be,
mean,
yeah.
because if you think about it, let's say you created some sort of a AR remote work sort of application, and it's made for the military. Dude, that's a lot of money if you get that contract.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so
But
that's
because they want to augment the reality around them, and that seems to be more. It's not that it's more plausible. It's just closer to reality. You can
yeah,
get you can get the technology to put it together faster and easier, and it's cheaper than a complete headset to immerse you into this world. Like at
yeah,
least right now, for time being. Because the other problem is people get sick putting VR headsets on. Like these
yeah.
dudes, a lot of people struggle putting that thing on
Listen,
and
man,
throwing up and stuff like that.
before the pandemic hit, I was
Mhm,
building a VR app. You know,
mhm.
at my job.
Hey, you have to go there. Like we understand. Like just don't go there.
I can't say where I was
Yeah,
working,
yeah. We
but
can't say where.
right.
Yeah.
But I was building an app. So we went out, we bought all of these like
Mhm,
Oculus headsets, right? At the
mhm,
time, in order
mhm.
to use an Oculus headset, you had to log into Facebook. You couldn't even just use it.
Yeah,
So
that's
when you talk
ridiculous.
about people like Tim Cook and some other people who say,
Mhm,
well, you know what? We want people to be able to go from this part of the metaverse or virtual
mhm,
reality and then just step
mhm.
into another one. We don't want it to be a walled garden. That's what Facebook is trying to do. They're trying to say,
Yeah, well, they're
this is
trying
the
to keep you
metaverse.
there.
In order to be in this metaverse, you have to buy our headsets. And it's just not going to work for them. It's just not because people don't
Yeah,
trust them. In virtual reality, you don't even know what sort of like crazy hackery could be popping off in virtual
that's
reality.
also true.
You
That's
know?
also true. I like the technology. I don't want to get into the pod. That's the where I'm
No,
at. that's
I'm
that's
done.
exactly where I'm at with this. I like the technology. I think that getting back to documentary, I think it's very cool that this community's been able to create these mods to do sign language and
Yeah, that's
belly
dope.
dancing.
Hmm.
And these guys had a mod for dinosaurs. Like they made Jurassic Park. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this is cool.
that's dope.
Oh, this is
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get in the pod, all right? Let me
yeah,
stop right now. I
right.
don't want to get into the pod, and I don't want to give all my information over to a tech company because we're getting Final Fantasy 7 kind of levels right now, or the Matrix.
It's
Like
creepy, dude.
this is bad. Like we're going in the wrong place here. That's where I feel like. I don't
It's
know.
creepy. This is We Met in Virtual Reality. It is a HBO original. You can check it out on HBO Max. I thought this
Mhm.
was super fascinating.
It's
I
very
also thought it was
fascinating.
depressing. I also thought it was sad, but I would suggest and I would recommend everyone who is slightly
It's worth a
interested in
look.
this. Yeah, it's worth a look. Check it out because you're going to come away with an opinion and it
Mhm.
may not be positive. Um,
Because the
you
people
know?
were very fascinated because it's not like a dig on them. Like they're very interesting and
No,
sincere,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
the communities they've created is amazing because they
Yeah.
had to do all this from scratch. All that stuff was cool. The issue for me more so than anything else is that I think that only one couple's actually met in person,
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of sad that we're getting away from human interaction
Yeah.
and just only doing things online. That's, to me, that's the part that bummed me out the most,
Yeah.
is thinking about, these people like being an outcast and not being able to talk to people in person and whatever, and having people look down on you like that. Just, it bummed me out just thinking about all that stuff. And like, I get it, man. I totally get it. Like, it's rough, and
That's
it's
a
only
very
going to
good.
get worse.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. Early on, like when during the lockdown, well, two things, like 9/11, when 9/11
Yeah,
happened, the next day you heard everything outside because there was nothing on
it
the
was
road,
eerie.
right?
It was eerie.
Now, early on in the pandemic, you heard the air quality was better because there were no cars on the road, right? So
Yeah,
imagine this.
yeah.
Imagine, you have this, there aren't any cars. There's no, I mean, everything is quiet. There's no hustling, bustling outside because everyone is in
Is
VR.
strapped to a chair.
And it's
No,
just like,
you got it. Not even VR. They're strapped to a chair in VR.
where
That's the
are the
thing.
bars? See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, man, you have brick and mortar things here in real life. We still need those things. Virtual reality is creepy. And, who's ever trying to create that and make money off of the metaverse, that's creepy. I would stay away from that
Yeah.
totally.
It needs to remain free, and people need to go just do their own communities on outside the virtual reality thing. Go for that. Whenever a large corporation gets involved, bad.
It's over. It's
Instantly
over.
bad.
It's
It's
over.
bad for us, bad for the people that use the VR. Everything's bad, just all around. That's this how I look at it. The documentary was really well done. Like,
Yeah.
kudos to everybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was shot like if this was real life and somebody had a camera walking around, like the
Yeah.
B-roll and just the way they did the editing and everything, it was really well done. And you have to appreciate how hard it is to recreate this kind of thing that you would do in a regular documentary
Yeah.
in VR.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like, I can't stress. It was fascinating, like really well done. So kudos to everybody involved, and kudos to the people that they put their soul to tell you, like, struggles they're going with online, and what they're going through right now, just to put this thing together. Like, that takes a lot of courage to go do this and tell the people, like, people are suffering with depression. A lot of people had, like, illnesses, or like some people were handicapped. They had some kind of, issues they're dealing with
Yeah.
personally, and like,
Mm-hmm.
to bare your soul and put it like that, it was rough, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, my heart, it hurt me watching some of this stuff, but it was like really it's an important story that people need to see, and as a society, we have to be very careful with this kind of technology.
Yeah.
The next step is the Matrix, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the next step is the Matrix.
So would
So
you
yeah,
rate
we
it
have
or
to be
what?
very careful. Yeah. I would give this a strong 8.5, man. It was really well done.
Yeah.
Considering, because if you understand the what it takes to make a thing like this,
Mm-hmm.
and to film it, record everything, and just to get it and make it natural, or just people talking like they would in a regular interview, is well done. Kudos to this guy who put this thing together. This is well done.
Joe Hunting. You know what? I am going to say this. We Met in Virtual Reality may be one of the most important movies, documentaries
Yes.
that is out, that we have seen, right?
Yes.
And
For the future, yes.
totally for the future. And when I saw this and I watched it, and it was, again, very depressing, very sad, but very intriguing and very good. I'm going to give this a 9.5, and this is on my movie of the year list. This right here.
Okay.
This is on my movie of the year list. And again, the reason why is because this movie, this documentary is so important. People, if you have not seen this, check this out. All this stuff about the metaverse, Mark Zuckerberg, go check this movie out. Go check this documentary out. And then come back and say, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on with this metaverse, and what does that mean for me, or what does that mean for my kids or my friends or anything like that?
For the future of humanity, people need to meet in person.
You
For the
do.
future of humanity,
Yeah.
people need to not be strapped to a chair
Mm.
just watching something online. You need to be talking to people in person.
Right.
And we're going down a dark path. I'll put it like that.
Even though, like in the lockdown, and we'll wrap this up. In the lockdown, there were a lot of DJs doing like live streaming DJ sets,
PR stuff,
right?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I've really thought about that, but I was just like, that's not how I DJ. I like to be in front of people, not unless I'm just in the crib practicing, just goofing off on the decks and whatnot. But I was like, and I did a show. I actually DJ'd for an art gallery, and it was virtually. I hooked it up through Ecamm. They fed me into their joint, and there I was DJing. I was able to see what was going on because they had a camera. I pulled it in. It was kind of slick, but it wasn't the same. Because generally,
it's not the same as being in person.
Yeah. Because
the
if
reactions
you DJ,
of people dancing and just seeing people's faces and stuff like this matters.
And the other thing is this: when you're DJing a private event, do you know in person? Do you know how much business you get from being there? People are like, hey, you know what? You do this, yeah, here, take my card, blah, blah, blah. You get so much business from doing private events. You can book like another 2 or 3 gigs just from one private event.
I have a stack of business cards whenever I DJ out, and I hand it out to everybody. And I get business for the next year just off of that alone.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I don't know how that happens in virtual reality, but it was a weird experience because, I mean, I was dressed up really dope, I had just did my whole thing, and I was just like, well, this is, after it was over and my set was 2 hours, and I was like, man, this was, there was one high note. When you DJ and then after the night is over, you have to break everything down.
Yeah,
in virtual reality, you don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, oh, dude, just end the call, and then I was done. So, but I don't want to DJ like that. And if I did DJ like that, you got to pay me a grip. I got to get paid a grip.
I do not want to DJ a virtual reality set with people with avatars looking at me, waving their hands. I don't want to do that.
We are talking about We Met in Virtual Reality. Again, this is an HBO original documentary. It was something that was it was, again, they showed this at a Sundance festival and HBO picked it up. And like I said, this show, this movie, this documentary, everyone should see this because this is going to tell you exactly.
This is Black Mirror right here.
Right. Exactly what virtual reality is here and what Mark Zuckerberg is trying to create with the metaverse. Check it out. You got to check it out. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I'm DJ Keo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, peace.
All right.